Welcome along to DJ Talk with the DJ Mixtape. Today we have the very talented Lord Zonka, or Mickey as I like to call him. How's London today, buddy? And thanks for joining us.
London town is very cloudy today, but it's warm and it's gorgeous. And as they say, when a man tires of London, he's tired of life itself. There you go. I nearly said it.
Hey man, let's start from the start. Let's start talking about how, why, and when you got into DJing.
Well, I wouldn't call it DJing. I think though my inclination for music started when I was getting my mum's Tupperware out and banging it as a drum. And then it revolved into doing my own mixtapes and my friends liking them on cassettes. It was a massive thing for my generation. Being able to record your own music off the radio was massive. You could own it. And then you could express yourself by your mixtapes. And then when we got to the age 15, 16 parties, my mixtapes were used at the parties. And then before I knew it, one day in 1985, I was in a pub. We had a Monday club. I worked at a market, and there were some decks with all his records. And we were all pissed, and I got up and I started DJing. And the owner, it was an impromptu sporadic. All the best days were sporadic. The owner was so impressed, I got a gig. And I ended up his DJ in there. And it was just a bit of everything, cassettes, everything. But no matter what I played, the place rocked. You know? So even at that age, I didn't know I was good. But looking back, I was, if that makes sense.
Brilliant. So your introduction to DJing was kind of after you got into music and everything, and then it went to DJing.
I never see myself as a DJ because I came through punk. I was in bands singing. I saw myself as a singer in a band. But I love playing music, and DJing's about programming sets. It's not about skill in mixing. It's about knowing what next record to play.
Playing the right record at the right time, hey? That's what it's about.
And if your remit is to make people dance, if you're not making them dance, you're not fulfilling your obligation.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So tell us about when you first you mentioned how you first got into DJing. Can you tell us a bit about the sort of first kind of parties and or clubs you started actually
progressing
doing?
When I would call myself an aspiring DJ.
Yeah.
I've moved beyond that because the sets at this pub were more a bit of everything. It's easy. It's almost a wedding DJ of sorts, but not cheesy. I always played good stuff. But then after punk, after my bands, I've drifted out of music. And I was fortunate to be involved in what I consider one of the two biggest revolutions in modern British culture, punk and acid house. So now I'm going to raves, but my inquisitive mind, my mates are all dancing. I'm watching the DJs and I'm thinking, I still don't know how to mix. And I hired some decks, some wedding decks, and I tried. I could not work out how to mix until one day, fortunately, a DJ on radio forgot to close his channel, and I heard him cue a beat up. Oh, that's how you do it. And then from there, I managed to get down. I just progressed. I started doing my own parties, and that was it.
Yeah. So your a lot of the viewers might not know, but you were involved with a pretty important band back in the day, Big Audio Dynamite. Can you tell us about how you got involved with that? Was that pre-DJing or when you were into DJing?
No. I mean, I was a massive Clash fan. If anyone, a lot of your listeners probably a bit young or viewers, but if you know your history, the Clash led to Big Audio Dynamite, and Mick Jones is known as one of the most biggest pioneers. He introduced sampling, hip hop to the Clash. He's a pioneer. And when he left the Clash were rubbish, and Mick formed Big Audio Dynamite. Now, me being a massive Clash fan, I saw them at 15, saw them 25 times. I saw Big Audio Dynamite. They were my band. Then I started bumping into Mick. Because Mick progresses, he's finished with the first lineup because he was into acid house now. So he's formed a new band. So I kept bumping into him, not to join his band. We just talked. And he said to me one day, Mickey, because he knew my love for the band, he went, from now on, you're on the guest list. And it was 3 months till the next gig. And I thought, I was yet to learn what an elephant memory's got once I worked with him. But 3 months later, he remembered me. And then it evolved. And I'm doing parties. I'm saying hi to Mick occasionally. Then we hear, through the grapevine, he's formed the new band. He's going on a tour. He needs a couple of DJs who aren't going to cost a fortune, who want to. So he doesn't know it's me. We got the tapes to him. He picked my tape. When I walked in and saw him, he turned around and went, Mickey, what are you doing here? And it was me who he picked. So how mad is that? Within 3 months of that warm-up tour, he asked me to join the band.
Yeah, man.
That's
Yeah,
a,
I just as
that's
as
a
a
crazy
it was a
journey,
bit of
that.
a it was a bit of a preparation for this. I watched one of the videos of Big Audio Dynamite live, and you were on stage and doing some sampling and stuff. It was quite a big gig. Can you remember which one that was? The
Yeah,
link
yeah,
that you
that was
sent
the
me.
Town and Country. I always remember those because, like a football team, when you play away, you get good receptions. Liverpool strong, Chicago, New York, East Coast, really all over the world if you're doing well. I mean, Mexico was amazing, but London is always your home gig. It's your Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park, my team. So that means all your family are there, your mum, my mum with her cotton wool ears. And so it's a home gig. It was 1992, Town and Country. We played there about 6, 7 times. I'd watched Big Audio Dynamite there. And what had happened, what you watched wasn't sampling. It's me mixing decks, live a cappellas. I treated the band like a record. They treated me like they were a record. So they would, as I mixed into them, they'd play along with me. We evolved a set where it was 2 hours of non-stop music, DJ, seamless.
Yeah, yeah,
Couldn't get enough.
it's great.
If you
It was
like
ahead of its time, wasn't it? That really back then.
very, very, it's only now really being acknowledged. You know, they say every band has a sort of renaissance, you know, and you get, and I think it's been acknowledged now just how, because it's Mick Jones. People, I remember a lot of those fans were like, DJ with all the old punks with Mick Jones. Even some of the crew we worked with in America, you could see they'd look at me. What the fuck are you doing there? They would, because I had to convince them. But they now you see people saying, Lord Zonka, I'm not blowing my own trumpet. Pioneer. Name me another DJ mixing into a live white rock band 30 years ago.
Well, yeah, this is it. This is why it was ahead of its time. Definitely ahead of its time. That's great. I mean, you've got probably a million great stories to tell. Unfortunately, we don't have a million hours to hear
I just
them.
tell 500,000 for now.
So can we move on, because I know you're stood in front of your decks there, and I really want to get into the technology side of what you do and how you DJ, and I'm sure a lot of the viewers will be really interested in that as well. I know you've got some production. You've got millions of productions to your name, and you there's some bootlegs and stuff you've got coming out quite soon. Can you just run us through your setup and maybe tell us a bit about
it's really, look, I'm not quite an innocent. You got to remember, I come from the vinyl days, so I've bought thousands of vinyl, and when you become successful, you get sent loads of vinyl as well. So I've got massive, and I DJ'd all over the world with vinyl, and it's only now 2 years I've had digital. I bought a DJI 400. And then I converted a little DJI. Most of what you've heard that you like is on a DJI 400, the mix that you like, because it's a baby version of what I've got now, the DJI 1000. Basically, I've waited all my life for this technology, because as much as I used to love mixing records in, if you just mentioned the other part of me, it was doing live sampling. Well, you can't do both, can you? You either mix. I haven't got 9 hands. Now I can loop and sample. I can break down my production skills. Someone said to me the other day, you don't just DJ, you soundscape, you layer. So my mixes are taking longer and longer each time, because I set a new precedent with every mix.
Hey man, well, the mix I heard from you was amazing. It really pricked my ear. This is before I'd even spoken to you, met you.
I think I'm unique. I think I can say I'm the best DJ doing what I do, because no one else does it. I love it. And if you didn't know Big Audio Dynamite, it's about samples and film. I love finding I do a mix, and I can think of a mood, and then that will dictate what I do. And I use The Sopranos, I'll use Blade Runner, I'll use a comedy, I'll use Laurel and Hardy. That will influence where my mix is going.
Yeah. Are you able to show us your setup at all? Are you able to tell?
I mean, what do I do? Just bend this down, do I?
Look,
can you see it like that? I mean, it's very good. Look, I can tell you it. If you could look on your podcast, if you can do a picture of a DDJ, and for your people, show me. You've basically got two. I don't even claim to be an expert. I'm learning all this every day. You know what excites me is I haven't even skimmed the top of this yet. What you hear is just me every day. I learn something on this, and it's got banks of I can sample. I've got loops. Basically, when I'm DJing now, I break. For example, I've got my gig coming up at Dublin Castle. I know what I'm going to play. In fact, I've got enough records to play there for 5 weeks non-stop, let alone 6, 7 hours. But now I've got my sets. I will break every tune down to 16 parts, either loops or prompts or stuff. And then every time I do a track, and some of them can be synchronized, some of them you have to, it's a lot of work to do all this to prepare. But when I'm mixing, I'm doing live remixes. You will recognize a record, but you won't have heard, hang on, the chorus is coming in the wrong place.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
doing live remixes.
Yeah, well, that's that's what it is at the moment, isn't it? I mean, that's what separates the best DJs from the average ones, isn't it? The people that are rearranging, re-edits, bootlegs.
You're putting your and the good thing is, Daniel, I could then record that, and then for my next gig, I've got that version, and then I can break that version down and do a remix of that. It's like that. It's endless.
These kids today don't know how good they've got it, do they?
They still, you know what? I hate all the old fart DJs. Well, you've got to learn on vinyl. No, you haven't. You use why should a young kid go and buy loads of vinyl? What's the point? Exactly. Most people who say that are scared of technology. They're scared. Yes, I could turn off the sync now and spend 2 seconds syncing it up. Why spend 2 seconds doing something I know I can do already? So I might as well just sync it. Then I can spend more time sorting out which loop I'm going to do.
Exactly. I couldn't agree with you more on that. It's about what's coming out of the speakers, not. And you know
what? Tony Humphries, the guy at the Warehouse, and all these great Junior Sanchez, 12-hour sets. They used reel-to-reel tapes, cowbells, sound effects to get their sound. So is it okay using vinyl and tape cassettes and cowbells? No, oh no, you can only use vinyl. Well, tell Junior Sanchez that when he was doing. Tony Humphries used to have a big fucking reel-to-reel full of, and he used to play a train coming through, and it was set up that it went through the whole. Apparently, the Warehouse sound system was legendary, loud, and people. But first time I heard that sound effect of a train coming through the whole club, people used to run out. That was he was creating, like me, he's creating an atmosphere.
Yeah, definitely, man, definitely. So to follow on from that, you mentioned that you had a bootleg coming out pretty soon, or a few little edits with bootlegs.
I can't say who it's by, but it's a top track, right? And it's not because I'm worried about legality, because I'm just going to give it away, and if they don't like it, I know them, I've met them before, they're fans of BAD, so it's a massive track. But I happened to do a bootleg of it, just a mix. I mucked around with it about 20 odd years ago, and I've just come across a load of old DAC tapes. It was all you could master on these little digital tapes, and like Betamax and the Sinclair C5, they all were made redundant very quickly. I still have my DAC player now. It's worth a fortune. It's almost like a piece of old furniture now. And I've came across this bootleg, and I've now put it onto my system. I've looped it. I've added samples. So basically, I look at it, it's waited 30 years, and now I've brought it into the 21st century, and it's brilliant. And I'm going to give it away as a download, but I'll send it to you first. It's never going to be as good as the original, because the original's so good.
Yeah,
It's my homage to the original.
Okay, cool, man. So how are you putting that together? Are you using software, or how are you doing that?
No, it's already on tape, so I just literally upload it to my record box and break it down on my decks. Even the album I'm bringing out soon was done on my 400.
Wow.
Because I had all the components. They were all recorded in a proper studio or demos. So basically, I got all the original WAVs of the original songs of the band. Then I created my soundscapes from my demos. That I then put them in order. And then when I recorded the album, I did it like a set. Song, my bit, song, my bit. So it was a mix. The end product you hear is a live mix. Obviously, I rehearsed it and I mastered it. But basically, it's a DJ making an album.
Brilliant, man. Brilliant. Oh, that's great. I really want to talk about your gigging at the moment and what you've got going on. Yeah. Take your time, man. Take your time. I don't want to.
That's how sophisticated I am now.
I don't want to rush you.
And it's not even instant. It's I've gone really upmarket now.
Oh, you're
don't
so
you?
flash. You're so flash, Mickey.
Because I knew you were where you live and everything and how affluent you probably are. I thought, well, Daniel, if I'd had a tin of Nescafe behind me, you'd probably cut the interview.
You wouldn't get on here. You wouldn't get on here, Mickey.
I've heard you're a terrible snob. I actually don't talk like this. Normally, I'm like, oh, wait, governor.
You're putting it on.
Me doing posh.
So I was pretty interested to find out about a new residency. Can you talk about this? You can, I was really interested because it's a venue. I can't say I went there often, but when I did, I had a good time. Venue in Camden, a very famous venue, the Dublin Castle in Camden, very important venue for music, not just electronic music. Band music.
It's all electronic. I'd argue it's not electronic.
Not
that's
really.
The mad thing about being their resident DJ. Tony Gleed from Bugbear, who does all the promoting, he gets all punk, but you know the remit. They have DJs in between bands. They've had a couple of nights where DJs have played, but it's not quite. And basically, I've got two paths in my career. I've got my love of dance music, and I've got outlets for that. I'm in negotiation. Loads of places. Post lockdown, I'm doing what every DJ's doing, negotiating, but you can't commit at the moment. But I've got that. But the Dublin Castle is me celebrating my journey through rock and roll. But what I'm doing is, and I've sent you the mix before, I play music for people to dance to who don't think they like dance music. So they will hear Teenage Kicks, they'll hear Big Audio Dynamite, they'll hear The Clash, they'll hear God Save the Queen, they hear Roxy Music, they hear so. It's all got a house beat because it's all been sampled. And yet again, I might even get the original tracks. When I'm playing the bootleg remix, I'll get the original and I'll loop that so I can do a breakdown and bring a loop in. So I'm taking these people on a journey through Camden. And Camden's one of the most significant places in rock and roll history in this country. I could tell you about 100 venues I've been to. I've seen The Clash there. The Clash rehearsed there within yards. Right, let's even start with the Dublin Castle. First early gigs, Amy, Razorlight, Killers, Supergrass, Blur, Madness, my band, The Effects, 16 years old, 1978. I went there the other day for the meeting. First time I've been back since I was 16. I've come back as the resident DJ who's toured the world and has earned the right to be given such an honour. That's an honour, that gig.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And if anyone knows the Dublin Castle and the history, they'll understand. Understand that as well.
A lot of you, I don't know how old you're. I don't know if this is a child. This might be called the horrible histories of DJing, and it's for young kids. And all what I'm talking about, they don't know because they've never even heard of anyone. But I'm hoping at least some of them will research and think.
Well, that's the idea. That's the idea. You know, people.
Is so it should be. I don't know. It should have a grade 1 listing on it. It really should. It's that important.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. So, are you gagging to get back out now?
Am I? Because I've also got a band I sing with. So I've got that. Not only have I got the resident DJ, my band is the resident band at the Dublin Castle, and they're good. These are the best band I've been with for years. Bob Wand used to play with Big Audio Dynamite, amongst others. He did the last tour and last album. Zeph Hodder, the guitarist, ran Nova Mute, signed Richie Houghton, and he now runs Buddha Music London branch, A&R. He's had an amazing career. Steve Phillips, runs his own press company with Pappy, his wife, who ran Nova with Zeph. So I've basically got an industry band.
You're a bit of you must know everybody. You must know everybody, Mickey. You must know everybody.
Really. You know what? I think I spent loads of years, I'll be honest with you, I've always had a little bit of my journey was a lot about how I look, being Cockney, getting into the music industry. There is all sorts of prejudice. It's not just black. And I'm not trying to compare myself with a black person. How dare I? I don't know what it's like, but nonetheless, when you've got an accent, or everyone's got, or some, even if you're posh and you walk in a place, everyone has to face a certain amount of prejudice.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to do your own stuff and create your own vibe. But I had that, you know, you get into the industry and all that. So as much as you say, I know everyone, I'm only now really acknowledging that I probably do. Because, you know, a lot of the time, when you start off in this industry, and the journey I had, supporting U2, playing Wembley Stadium, I've DJed to 120,000 people. I've walked out. I used to go out 5 minutes before the band. So I went out and did 2 records with 120,000 people. You know, so when you've been on that journey, you know, it's it's just like you've experienced all stuff. You've earned your stripes, basically.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
You have to believe in yourself. I didn't have the self-belief you see now. I've had to earn it.
Well, that's why I like getting. That's why I like getting DJs with experience on here. I mean, predominantly this is for you know, beginner DJs or younger DJs. But that's the great thing about this is, you know, hopefully they can learn from people who've got a bit of experience and a bit of skin in the game.
Now you've got to have a thick skin, a face. It's like being an actor. Thick skin, rejection.
Well, let's get on to that. Let's get on to that now then. Okay, so let's finish off with, and this is what I ask to everybody.
If you're rejecting me.
I'd never do that.
I've got a thick skin now. It would bounce off, darling.
Mickey, or Lord Zonka, sorry.
No,
Mickey's fine. Look, if there are younger DJs watching or beginner DJs, what advice would you give them to start their career or to progress their career?
Well, firstly, I'd say you look in the mirror, and if you know you're doing it because you love music, then you've got a career in music. If you're only doing it because you want to be seen, you could still succeed, but I personally wouldn't know what you need to do there, because it's not talent, it's just wanting to be up there. So we'll concentrate on the people like me. They would find they've had the same journey. They've always had a compulsion to play music one way or another. So basically, you started off playing your own music, so you're going to get rejected. If you go to clubs, no matter how much mixing you've done, there's all different factors. Can you pull a crowd? The guy don't like the look of you. You're too black, you're too white, you're too cockney, you're too ginger. There's all that. There's you're not good enough, or they don't need you. Or he's thinking, I've started my own night, why should I help you? And that's it. So why not start your own night? Why not? If you like to play at that club, not get in that club and think, oh, I can do it better than them. And then you start very small. If you've got 100 mates, do a club for 50. And if you've got 70, and they're 75, never move to a bigger club until 3 times the amount want to get in. Every person for every 10 people you invite, only 2 will turn up. Everyone says yes, they'll come because it's easier than being honest. So, but never give in. And just keep doing it. Your own thing. The only way you get noticed, do listings, and now internet. I've got 25,000 people on the internet now follow me. I don't even know what that means. It's just because I've been doing what I thought you had to do. For what it's worth, what does it mean? But that's the future. I used to have to go around flyering. I used to have to put posters up with flour and water. They just press a button. There's no excuse for no self-promotion anymore.
Yeah. Mickey, I know you do a load of really good work with new DJs or people, or beginner musicians. Can you talk us a bit about that?
Well, I've now I'm getting back into the fold. Without going too into it, I've had a new knee. I can talk about it now. I've kept that out of the way, so I've come through that. I was disabled, really, you know, and all that, but I'm back. So now my ambition is always to be. I'm an EC1 boy, working class kid who went around the world. I'm going to now, on my second journey, I'm back again. This is my journey to Zonkerville. I'm going to start, once the money comes in, at the moment I'm skint, so let me earn some money first before you judge me. Then, once I've got a few quid, I'm going to set up a foundation, Zonkerville Foundation, and I'm going to pluck a kid, a disadvantaged kid, who, it can't be just because I like the look of him. I've got to hear music teacher or a parent says he needs music or something, then I'm going to give him the opportunity, not just to learn about music. All my team, Heather, Zeph, guitar, running the record company. I've got so many people they could hang out with. They come out and hang out with me for a week. Say we're setting up, I've got a festival I'm thinking of doing in France. They come and hang out and they don't fuck it up and they behave right. They do what they're told, but we're not expecting miracles. We're talking through if they aspire and they do well, they're coming around the world with me because I've got to create the next generation. I want to retire, Daniel, and have all my minions setting it all up, and I can just fly in when I can arrive and fly home. At the moment, I'm still at the setting it all up myself.
Nice, man. It sounds like a great project.
Music will die. Your job, once you were successful, your job is to bring Mick Jones does that. He always brings you. Well, you look at all the history of bands that supported the Clash. There was always big names, but there was always a little band. You could literally walk up to the Clash with a mixtape, and they'd give you a gig.
Yeah.
I learned that off Mick. I learned so much of Mick Jones. And if you don't know who Mick Jones is, look at not the one in Foreigner, the one in the Clash.
Yeah, the one in the Clash.
The cool-looking one, the one who looks cool.
Yeah. Look, well, it's been so good to talk to you today, and thanks so much for taking the time out. We really appreciate it. I know you're busy at the moment; you've got loads going on. I
don't know if you noticed, but I do. I could talk. Someone said, I don't know if you noticed, it comes quite naturally to me talking.
Hadn't noticed.
Yeah, I'm a quiet chap, really.
Mickey, thank you so much, man. And will you come back and talk to us again in the future?
I'll talk to you whenever you want. In fact, I don't think you. I think we should carry on for a couple of days. I've got so much. Daniel, after this, we'll have a chat on the phone.
Obviously, yeah.
You're obviously. What Daniel doesn't know is we're going to be setting up a big festival in Portugal next year, and he's going to be helping me with that. Allegedly. And also, can I ask you a question? Isn't it true, Daniel? I'm interviewing you now. Isn't it true you yourself use the ones and the twos?
Well, as the title of our platform would suggest, yeah, I have DJ'd in the past.
We'll leave it there, Daniel, and we'll leave that with you viewers, because Daniel is. There's no such thing as a former DJ, is there, Daniel? We'll talk after, yeah? See you later.
Talk after. See you, Mickey. Nice one, buddy.